Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the end of day one at AWS reInvent 2024. Thank you for making the trek over to learn a little bit more about Oracle Database at AWS. My name is Dominic Preuss. I'm one of the directors for RDS, and I'll be taking you through. So what are we going to do today? We're going to start by going through an introduction to Oracle Database at AWS. This is an announcement that we made back at Oracle Cloud World in September. And now, today, we can actually talk about what's actually happening. So we'll take you an introduction through that. I'll bring on Akshay Sharma from State Street to talk a little bit about what they're planning to do with Oracle Database at AWS. Then any good session has a demo, so we'll go through a demo of what this looks like in action. And then we'll have some time at the end, and I'll ask Akshay some questions. I promise you he's never heard these questions before, so it's going to be completely off the cuff, and we'll end with that discussion. All right, topic number one, generative AI. Every conversation starts with generative AI. But the dirty little secret is that any strategy for generative AI starts with a strong and comprehensive data strategy. You can't do anything in generative AI unless you have your data in a place that's secure, is organized, and you can leverage it to do your generative AI, whether it be building new models or doing things adjacent. So again, you have to have that foundation, the data foundation, to be able to take advantage of generative AI. You need something that's comprehensive, so you need to have access to all of your data. It needs to be integrated. You need to be able to access all of the data. So even if you have all the data in one platform or one cloud provider, it has to be integrated so you can get access to it to take advantage of it. And it's got to be governed. You know, we all know how important data is, and that you have to have a governance model on top of it to make sure who's got access to it, who can view it, and it's being secure. So obviously, almost every enterprise customer has Oracle somewhere in their fleet. And so AWS, we've now been, for over 14 years, working with RDS for Oracle to help customers move their Oracle workloads on AWS. Over the years, we've extended the possibilities to make it easier for these customers to lift and shift these Oracle workloads into AWS. So we originally started with AWS, Amazon RDS for Oracle, over 14 years ago. We recently added RDS Custom for Oracle. So if you have some requirements that require you to have more control over your Oracle environment and you're willing to take on a shared responsibility model, we've got RDS Custom for Oracle to help you take advantage of many of the things that RDS provides, but still have more flexibility. And then many folks are still running self-managed on EC2. So bringing their Oracle workloads, bringing their DBAs and all of their automation and whatever scripts they might have built on-premise and putting them on EC2. But there was a big hole in the offering. We didn't have a good answer for customers that were running Exadata workloads on-premise. So we worked together and started this strategic agreement with Oracle to launch Oracle Database at AWS. So let's spend some time talking about what we announced back in September and that what is now live in limited preview today as part of AWS reInvent. So what is Oracle Database at AWS? Fundamentally, it is OCI infrastructure, hardware, sitting inside of an AWS data center, remotely managed and controlled by OCI. So these are OCI services on dedicated hardware and infrastructure inside of an AWS data center that we can then offer to customers. Why is this important? Today, if you were trying to run your Oracle workloads in OCI and your applications in EC2, the latency was too great between the two to split up those workloads. So with this solution, we now have low latency connection from the OCI infrastructure sitting in the AWS data center to the rest of AWS, specifically EC2. So what this allows you to do is to run your e-business suite or your custom application or your PeopleSoft on EC2, connected to a database running on OCI managed infrastructure inside of an AWS data center. To do this, customers really need sub-millisecond latency between the two, and so this solution provides that. The other thing is that customers that are spending money on the solution need to make sure that it lines up with the rest of the things that they're doing on AWS. So what we've done is we've integrated this through the AWS Marketplace. So what this means is that you pay through AWS Marketplace, and that gets you two benefits. One, if you're a customer that has a committed spend to AWS in exchange for discounts, this spend will count against that committed spend. On the other side, you will get credit with the Oracle Support Rewards program to use that to get credit against your annual software support costs that you have with Oracle. So this allows you to double dip into both programs by going through the AWS Marketplace. And so what this will do, and again, today we launched in limited preview. We'll be launching GA next year. But it lets you to migrate, lift and shift those Oracle Exadata workloads onto the OCI infrastructure, specifically Oracle Exadata database or Oracle Autonomous Database on dedicated infrastructure within an AWS data center. So why does this matter? So one is, today, if you wanted to migrate your Exadata workloads from on-premise onto AWS, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to decompose the databases, get them onto RDS, get them onto EC2. You can't just pick up and lift and shift your Exadata workloads. So what this does is makes it as easy as possible to lift and shift those Exadata workloads into the AWS cloud. The second thing it allows you to do is to unify your data. Because your data sitting in these Oracle databases is inside the AWS data center, you can easily unify it with all of your other data. So what this looks like is just another set of VMs and another set of databases in your VPC, just like any other resource in AWS. So what that allows you to do is to combine that with your analytics data, your other Oracle databases, your other databases, to get a unified view of all of your data for things like generative AI or to get the most value out of your data. And the last thing we did is we simplified it. And so to make this as easy as possible for AWS customers to consume, we've wrapped an experience around it to make it feel like an AWS offering. So there is integration in the AWS console, which you'll see later. We've already talked about the integration with AWS Marketplace. We've created AWS APIs that use your AWS credentials to do provisioning and to set up the service. And so we've made this feel very similar and comfortable to AWS customers while still leveraging all of the power from OCI and all of the benefits that you get from the Exadata infrastructure. So let's talk a little bit about integration. So because we wanted this to feel as integrated and as part of the AWS offerings as we could, we've made it very easy to bring these workloads over. And first of all, for Oracle Real Application Clusters, or Oracle RAC. For customers that want to run Oracle RAC, which is an option in Enterprise Edition, this is the supported way to run Oracle RAC workloads on AWS. So if you want to run those workloads, you want support from Oracle in the official way to do this, this is the way that we will support those Oracle RAC workloads on AWS. We're also going to support the way we're going to do Autonomous Database. So if you want the advanced management features of Autonomous Database, we'll be adding Autonomous Database on dedicated infrastructure on top of the Oracle Exadata infrastructure, so you can get all of the management benefits of Autonomous on top of that infrastructure. And then to make sure that it lines up with all your resiliency and all the other things that you want to do in AWS, when you are taking backups from these databases, the default will be that they will land in AWS S3, so they will be inside the AWS ecosystem or the AWS set of services. Customers can choose to back up in OCI or to whatever their preferred backup destination is, but AWS S3 is a default option to make it easy and to feel fully integrated in AWS. And again, the reason that we want to get and help customers get this data off of on-premise into AWS is so that they can unify it into a single place, into AWS, so they can make the most benefits out of this. But the way that we needed to do this was we needed this low latency connection. So what we've done, we spent a ton of time with the Oracle engineering team to basically figure out how to get this Oracle hardware into AWS data centers and to connect it with a low latency physical connection that gets it back into the AWS network. We also want to make it very easy to get this data into your downstream analytics workload. So we're working on zero ETL integration. So the Oracle database at AWS will be a source for zero ETL. So basically, zero ETL means one-click integration to be able to get your data from your database downstream into your analytics, whether that be Iceberg and S3 tables, whether that be Redshift, whatever that happens to be, will help you get that data downstream into your analytics so you can take advantage of it when you're building your generative AI models or whatever you're building. And again, because it's a first-class citizen in the Amazon VPC, you can use things like EC2, EKS. You can use any of our compute options, Lambda, to speak directly to these Oracle databases that are on the Exadata infrastructure that's being managed by OCI. So whether you want to be EC2 or you want to use any of our compute solutions, because it's fully integrated, and we'll talk about how the network integrates, you can leverage it from all of your various compute options. And again, how do we simplify this? So this is really important for us. AWS is customer obsessed. One, we really wanted to make sure that this option was available to customers, but two, we wanted it to be as easy as possible to use. So we got a unified experience between the OCI offering and AWS, and so there's integration in the AWS console. We've done the integration with the AWS Marketplace. We've done things like CloudWatch metrics, so all of your metrics show up in CloudWatch. So if you have monitoring solutions that are based on data in CloudWatch, all of that data will be available there for you. And so it allows you to basically pull these workloads and these databases into your existing infrastructure and your existing operations. One of the other things that I don't know if people really realize is that we spend a lot of time building AWS APIs that use your AWS credentials that are basically wrappers on top of those OCI APIs. So to set all of this up, you'll actually call AWS APIs with your AWS credentials, and we'll handle the fact that it maps to a different OCI tenancy in the background and make those API calls in your behalf. So as we talked about, we announced this at Oracle Cloud World a few months ago, and that was a pre-announcement. Today, we are doing the limited preview. So today, you can get Oracle Exadata Database Service running on Oracle infrastructure, sitting in an AWS data center in one region, which is US East 1, and in one of our availability zones. So that's currently in limited preview. Since we took the announcement, we've been taking a lot of interest from customers. If you have interest in this, please talk to your account teams or your representatives as we're trying to figure out how we're going to get various customers into the preview. And then the plan is for general availability in 2025. So this will be the Oracle Exadata Database Service, Oracle Autonomous Database for Dedicated, 2 regions, 2 US regions, and 2 AZs in each region. To basically build the platinum architecture for HR, for HA and DR, we need one region with 2 AZs for high availability, and another region for DR. And so we'll have that at general availability. We'll also have zero ETL, the S3 backups and restore, and then we'll be working on more regions in 2025. Right now, we're working on these 2 regions, but at the same time, we're evaluating all the other regions based on what customers are asking for and the best places to land additional OCI hardware. And so we'll be working on an overall regional rollout plan as we get to general availability. So a lot of folks ask about architecturally, how does this work? I think the important designation here is that this is not Oracle OCI or Oracle hardware running on AWS. This is running OCI infrastructure in AWS. And so the way that we've achieved this is that within an AWS region, you can see we've got the application VPC, so this is where you would normally be running your application. Again, this could be eBusiness Suite, this could be PeopleSoft, this could be your custom application. And then what we've done is, in part of the AWS region, we have landed Oracle Exadata infrastructure in the region. So there's a data hall that actually has OCI hardware, and that hardware is then remotely managed by an OCI parent region. So all of the control plane and all of the management and everything is done by normal OCI, but we have this child region that's sitting inside of an AWS data center, and that's the infrastructure that customers get to take advantage of. So all of the wonderful things that are happening in OCI, you get to take advantage of, and the customer infrastructure sits inside of the AWS data center. And then what we've done is we've done a number of tricky things on the network side to make it easy to connect to these, and we'll take you through what that looks like. But at the end of the day, your application that's sitting in the VPC is just going to see these VMs on Exadata and databases as just another endpoint on the VPC. The way that we're doing this is we've created this concept of an ODB, an Oracle Database Network. So this is the network overlay that we use that we actually peer your AWS VPC to create this connection. The infrastructure is sitting inside of the AWS data center. And the way that once you provision your Exadata, you set up your set of VM clusters. And we'll go through that process as part of the demo. Obviously, during the limited preview, one region and one AZ is not sufficient for a production workload. So the way that we're going to support HA and disaster recovery, high availability and disaster recovery at GA is through this pattern. So we're going to have, for high availability, there will be 2 AZs, each with the Exadata clusters. So a customer will have database and Exadata cluster 1 and AZ1. They'll have a second one that'll be connected via DataGuard across in another AZ for the region. And then we'll have a second region that will be in the same country for disaster recovery, where we'll be doing cross-region replication for disaster recovery. So this is what the recommended architecture will look like at GA. So 2 AZs in a single region, and then a second region for disaster recovery. Another thing that was very important is that customers often have many VPCs, so they need to be able to connect multiple VPCs to the Oracle Database Network. So what we've done is you can actually peer multiple VPCs to the Oracle Database so that you can have a set of EC2 VMs in one VPC. You can have your EKS in another. Customers are able to logically separate their resources by VPC, but have multiple of those peered to the Oracle Database Network. All right, so I've talked a little bit about kind of how we've implemented this and all the work we've been doing with the OCI team over the last several months. What I'm going to do is actually bring up a customer to talk a little bit about how they're thinking about this to get you the customer's perspective. So with that, I'm going to bring up Akshay Sharma, who's the managing director at State Street, to talk a little bit about what they're planning to do with Oracle Database.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, Dominic. Good evening and good afternoon to all of you. What we're going to do today is, first, let's do a little introduction to State Street as a bank. And then we'll delve a little bit into our strategy and how this offering fits nicely into our strategy. State Street is a 230-year-old bank. And people often talk to me and say, we don't see State Street branches. And we don't see those branches because we serve institutional investors, and our clients are institutional clients like pension funds, retirement plans, sovereign wealth funds, et cetera, et cetera. And interestingly, we are one of the biggest global custodians out in the market, and we are also the 4th largest asset manager in the world. We are proud to have launched the first ETF. If you invest in SPY, we were the folks who launched ETFs, driven through the aspiration of the investors because they demanded passive investment strategies and index-based investment strategies. And so from a State Street perspective, if you look at it, we have 3 business lines. First business line is investment servicing, which is our core business, where we do fund accounting, custody, performance analytics, and we do also provide a lot of platforms for institutional investors. Our second line of business is markets and financing, which allows us to provide liquidity to our customers. And last but not the least, we also have an investment management arm, which is the asset manager wing, which is where the ETF SPY was born. We are also a GCP. A GCP stands for globally systemically important financial institution. And what does it mean to be a GCP? What it means is we are too critical to fail. We are in the category of those banks in the states which are too big to fail. What that also means is that draws heightened regulatory attention on us, which includes a lot of focus on operational resiliency as well as risk excellence. With that, some numbers. We do have almost 45 trillion worth of assets under custody and administration, and almost 4.5 trillion under management. And what that means for us is every day our systems run almost 11.5% of the world's asset. All our systems collectively, we service almost 11.5% of the world's assets. And that speaks and indicates to the scale of data we manage and govern every day. To Dominic's point earlier, data management is key. If we are not able to manage data really well, we can't leverage the opportunities and the possibilities we have with artificial intelligence and Gen AI and so on and so forth. So having a solid data foundation built on the data we have is very, very important and paramount to us. Our technology strategy is focused around 4 key pillars. Platform modernization, providing digital client experience, best-in-class digital experience to our customers. Automation efficiency. We almost have driven AI in the fabric of the organization. We, from a back office perspective, have a lot of pressure on our margins because it's a low margin business, right? And hence, using data effectively and putting AI on top, weaving that into the fabric to drive down costs is very, very important to us. So AI has to be used not only from the perspective of driving our top line, but also our bottom line, which is very, very important to us. Our annual IT budget roughly is about 2.5 billion, out of which we have a big 400 plus people AI center of excellence, which is very, very important. And we are not doing AI now. We've been doing AI for about 7 to 8 years. And we've been doing traditional AI, but now we are moving towards leveraging Gen AI with all the data which sits with us to be able to drive insights for our customers, market, investors, as well as we're now looking to drive more insights front to back. And when I say front to back, if you look at the investment life cycle, we want to drive insights from the front office, the middle office, and the back office with a unified experience to our clients. And that's our service offering, which we call Alpha. Moving on. How does this whole offering fit into our strategy? Our platform modernization strategy is very cloud-centric. So our goal is to drive significant reduction in our data centers worldwide, right? And to that effect, we have fostered relationships with the 3 hyperscalers, AWS, Azure, and Oracle, right? And what we intend to do is, over a period of time, undertake a journey where we move towards data centerless IT. And what that means for us is we create regions which are in this star formation, where we link all the 3 cloud providers to each other through low latency networks. And then there are workloads we have which are not cloud friendly. And those workloads essentially go in and sit in a colo. As I said, we are a 230-year-old bank. And what that means is we have almost about 2,000 applications which have evolved and grown over a period of the history, right? So obviously, not all those workloads are cloud friendly. We can't take all of them to the cloud on day one. Although the intent is to go to the cloud over a period of time. And hence, if you look at this chart here, what you see here is on the AWS side, you have AWS native, you have VMC, and now you see the Oracle at AWS box, which is very, very important to us. Because if you looked at this chart last year, you would not see Oracle at AWS or Oracle at Azure in those boxes. We were relying purely on Oracle Cloud at Customer, which is Oracle's offering to have Exadata sit in the colo to drive migration of assets from our data center into the colo. And what that meant for us was a lot of our assets, because they are dependent upon Exadata, they all go into the colo. So we're actually not doing the cloud. right? And since we are not doing to the cloud, we're actually not going to the cloud, and we are actually moving more workloads to the colo, what that means for us is we are not able to leverage all the advancements which are coming out in the cloud, right? And so it was very, very important for us to have this partnership done with both AWS and Azure, because they are our two full-service cloud providers. That helps us to drive the benefit of leveraging all the good services and advancements which are happening in the cloud natively, whether it is AWS or Azure. So what does multi-cloud mean to us? I'm not going to hit upon this slide in full, but by and large, what it means to us is we always multi-source. Obviously, from a concentration risk perspective, we always multi-source. Our application architecture is always single cloud core. And what that means is an application with all its modules usually goes and sits in one cloud, and it's not split across multiple clouds. Our intention is always to have one application go to one cloud end-to-end, barring a few scenarios where we may have to interoperate with any other cloud for reasons of data gravity or integrity or integration. We also intend to leverage cloud-native capabilities as much as possible, because that's where the value comes from. And also, we want to provide a very, very rich experience to our developers, which is very, very important. And when I say rich experience to our developers, what I mean by that is a couple of things. We believe that going to the cloud should be more self-service for the developers. We should treat developers as first-class citizens, meaning they should be able to self-service themselves onto the cloud with certain guardrails. We don't want to live in the traditional world, where somebody provisions a VM for a developer. We want to live in a world where developers are able to self-service their own needs within guardrails and accomplish what they want to accomplish, right? And so that's what we mean by consistent experience to our developers. What that also means is if developers are talking to AWS or Azure, their experience in terms of provisioning and the operating model is consistent, right? We use Terraform for provisioning in both our clouds, and that provides our developers a consistent way to consume the clouds. Now let's get to this offering. Today, in our on-prem state, we have Oracle on open systems, we have Oracle ODAs, a lot of them, and we also have Oracle and Exadata. As I said, we have almost about 2,000 applications, and those applications have grown over a period of time. A lot of them are custom applications, a lot of them are COTS products, right? And a lot of them are not cloud-friendly, like I said. Now, usually in our business, some of our most critical applications are dependent upon Exadata, right? And because they are dependent on Exadata, what happens is you have a lot of satellite applications around those big monster applications, which gravitate towards being part of that ecosystem. So example, if I take a functional domain accounting, and if I have an application X, which is using Exadata, largely what happens is there are probably 20 applications around it, which form part of that accounting ecosystem. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because if you move one of those applications onto the cloud, the rest of the 20 have to move along it because of data gravity, right? So we do have this estate today, but in the target state, we want to encourage our developers to use more cloud-native data stores, which are fit for purpose, which probably were not there when those applications were originally built. The whole concept of columnar databases, key stores, databases for unstructured content weren't even there when the original applications were written, right? So we do want our developers to start looking at more cloud-native data stores for sure. On the other hand, as I said, it's not always, it's sometimes cost prohibitive to rewrite applications which are already built on Exadata. And so it's very difficult for us to move them to the cloud in short bursts of time, right? And hence, we want to provide options to our developers with Exadata available in both AWS, Azure, and Cloud at Customer. And what that gives us is the advantage where if an application goes to AWS, they have Exadata natively available in AWS. If an application goes to Azure, Exadata is available there also. and if they intend to go to the colo, Exadata is also available there. Now, one of the reasons, like I said, our applications intend to go to the colo is because we have a huge dependency on the mainframe. And obviously, the mainframe is not cloud-friendly, right? So if the mainframe goes to the colo, a lot of our applications which actually have data gravity or integration points into the mainframe have to go to the colo, right? And so this now allows us to leverage Exadata and move our applications faster, whether maybe in the cloud or in the colo. And last but not the least, our migration strategy is also dependent upon certain modernization levels we have established. And one of the modernization levels is lift and optimize. Because we want to move applications quickly to the cloud, right? We may not rewrite them, we may not re-architect them, but we may lift them and optimize them to an extent that they could go to a cloud using strategies like VMC, right? So if we do that, we also intend to offer to our developers Oracle on AWS as an option so that can accelerate the move to the cloud. And over a period of time, then they can obviously, rewrite to more cloud-native technologies and leverage the power of the cloud. As I said, we are a GCP bank, and our control environment is very, very important to us. What I like about this offering is also the fact that we can now drive Oracle within AWS, Azure, and Cloud customer through a single control plane, which is in the OCI tenancy. So if I, as a customer, have an existing OCI tenancy, then I could use that as a single control point to drive behavior across all the 3 clouds where Exadata is available, right? This chart also alludes to the fact that the control plane which sits in the OCI tenancy is responsible for account management, the database lifecycle management, replication, vaulting, etc., while the data plane exists within the cloud natively, which is great, because now backups, provisioning, etc., can happen within the respective clouds, right? But the control point still sits back in the OCI tenancy. What we have also observed is Oracle's multi-cloud offering doesn't have too many variations. So it's pretty consistent. What I mean by that is, if you look at network topology, identity, or the security model, there are minor variations which do exist, right? But by and large, the offering is very consistent across all the 3 clouds. You have the control plane, then you have the data plane. You have clearly defined functions which are performed in the control plane, and the rest of them are performed in the data plane. So what does this offering give us? And how does this enable our modernization strategy? First, it accelerates our move to AWS, which is very, very important. We want to get out of our data centers into the cloud as fast as possible. And the fact that this offering wasn't there earlier was inhibitive to our progress. So this actually helps us accelerate our journey to the cloud. 2, it allows us to leverage our existing investments on Exadata, right? Rewriting applications which are mission critical, which leverage Exadata, is cost prohibitive. So it allows us to leverage our existing investments which we have made on Exadata as it is. 2, now since the data is moving to the cloud, it establishes us to create a solid foundation to innovate upon. If the data is not in the cloud, how do I innovate, right? So the fact that now I can move more applications into the cloud allows me to establish that solid data foundation within the clouds, and also simplifies the architectural and operational complexity of our architecture. If you look at the chart I showed you with the triangle, operating that environment and attaining operational rhythm on that is extremely, extremely complex. And the fact that now we can take the app and the database both natively into the cloud reduces the architectural complexity exponentially for us, right? Which is a huge benefit to us. Now, since we can move the data to the cloud, we can establish a solid data foundation. What next? We get to innovate. We get to use all the advancements AWS is doing on the cloud, whether it may be SageMaker or Bedrock or new Gen AI models. I can now apply those models to the data which has been moved to AWS, which is huge for us, right? And with that, I can now start to offer more product and services to my customers, right? And eventually leading to more business growth, top line, and driving more efficiency to our bottom line. what do we expect from this offering, right? Here are some of the key capabilities which are extremely important and we should be looking forward to. First, as this service is launched, we intend to be a preview pilot customer to this service. We would be looking at a bunch of things highlighted and outlined here. First, service availability. It's very, very important that this service is available within the regions that we reside, right? Second, are we going to get multi-AZ features, right? The initial preview is single AZ, but eventually, for us to go into production, we need at least one region which is multi-AZ, right? Third, we'll look at the SKUs being available. We use X9s today, and we hope to get a parity on X9 SKUs within the AWS environment. We obviously will look for multi-cloud feature parity and consistency because we want to drive consistent experience for our developers. We look for security aspects, key management, TDE, privileged access management, etc. We also intend to see how natively this service is integrated with other AWS services. Like Dominic was alluding earlier in his comments, that you have zero ETL migration available. You can do one-click migration into a variety of different data stores within AWS. Can I apply AI models to this directly, so on and so forth. So we'll look to see what all other services are natively integrated and naturally integrated into the service. We obviously, service availability is one aspect of it, but we also need to look at migration and replication support that we have, whether it is Golden Gate, ZDM, so on and so forth. The other aspect is, as Dominic said earlier, you can consume this service through AWS Marketplace. And what that means is, if I start consuming through the marketplace, I start to burn down my commit on AWS, which is neat. So we do expect that behavior because that's the same behavior the service has on Microsoft Azure. Last but not the least, support. Support is very, very important. Every time we have a third-party service come into the cloud, you need to look for a unified support experience because then it becomes a game of it is you and it is me and it is somebody else, right? So we are looking to see how do we get a unified support experience because this service is not a native AWS service, right? So support experience is extremely, extremely important to us. Future plans, what do we intend to do? As I said, number one, we want to pilot this service as early as Q1, which is not far too out. And then eventually, when the service goes GA, we want to fully curate the service and expose it to our development community through around Q4 of 2025, because I'm assuming the service goes GA around Q2, Q3, end of Q2, Q3 is what I'm hearing. But if we get to that stage, we want to provide a fully curated service where we can start to move production loads into this service around Q4 of next year. So hopefully when we come to reInvent next year, we would have moved, at least piloted and moved at least a workload on that would be my aspiration. Let's see where we go with that. Two, we want to accelerate migration of applications to AWS, obviously to drive modernization. And like I said, our intent is to go towards a data centerless IT kind of a scenario, right? And that really helps us on our data center exit migration program. Three, we want to establish a solid data foundation to leverage a plethora of services AWS provides, including Gen AI to drive innovation, new products, new services for our customers. And eventually, as the offering evolves and matures, we want to get to the point of exploring autonomous database services, which absolutely we want to move towards over a period of time. With that now, I think the plan is to have a demo. Dominic, over to you.
Thank you, Akshay. All right, so any good session at AWS at reInvent has a demo. So we'll take you through what is this actually going to look like, and what does this look like today? Again, a couple months ago when we announced this at Oracle Cloud World, it was really just an agreement. There really wasn't as much technical work done as we would have liked, and so we've been working really hard for the last couple of months to be able to make this available today as part of reInvent. So this is what is currently available. So what you can see today, let's see if I get it going. Here we go. So you can see the Oracle Database at AWS is in the AWS console. When you click on it, it'll take you to this page. You can see here, access is denied because you can't use it until you have private pricing. So you click on the button that says request private pricing, and you'll go into the Oracle flow. So you'll go in and specify your region. You'll fill out all of your information and request information. So obviously you can do it through the form, you can contact your Oracle sales rep, however you're used to operating with your Oracle counterparts. Once you have a private offer that's been approved by Oracle, you'll get an email that says that your private offer is available. You'll click through into the AWS Marketplace and you'll choose your private offer. You'll see all of the specifics of the offer, and you can confirm and pay now. So here we've got $0, but it's whatever you've set forth with your Oracle team. Once this is all ready, you'll come back. The next thing you need to do is actually tell us what your Oracle tenancy is. And so you'll do this to go, let's see if I can go back. So you have to go back twice to set it off again. There we go. Let's see if I can zoom forward a little bit on this. Up. Reset it again. All right, we'll let it run this time. Always the risk of running a video. So once you have received the email that you've got your private offer, you've accepted that private offer in the AWS Marketplace, you'll know that you'll then be able to then go to the dashboard and actually start to provision your Exadata hardware. So again, we'll specify the region. We'll request our information. Once you've had that conversation with the Oracle team, you'll be able to get the details of your private offer. You'll get notified by email. This is what the email will look like. Go to the marketplace. You'll see the details of your private offer. You'll see the dates. You'll see the amounts. You'll commit to the amount and create the contract. And this is all just standard AWS Marketplace flows. So now what you'll need to do is go and connect your AWS Marketplace account with your OCI tenancy. So what you'll need to do is come here and specify your account name. You'll go through and log in. And basically what we're doing is we're creating a mapping between your OCI tenancy and your AWS Marketplace account. So what this allows us to do is when we're making all of the API calls, we know how to map between the AWS account and the Oracle account. So you can see here, you've got your ODB tenancy. You'll add the subscription. So now once that's all set, you'll be able to interact with the AWS Marketplace. So we're going back to the AWS Marketplace, and now the dashboard link is live because we've got our private offer. And this is where we can go to actually provision our infrastructure. So the first thing we'll need to do is to create that ODB network that we talked about before, give it a name, choose an availability zone. You need to provide us the seeders for both the client and the backup so that we know kind of what IP space we're operating inside of. You'll choose the VPC that you want to peer it to, and you'll give it a domain prefix. Create the ODB network. Now we can see all the details of that network. So this is what binds our network connection from the infrastructure to our VPC. So now if we want to go set up our Exadata infrastructure, We'll go in and give it a name. We'll specify how big it is, the number of database servers, the number of storage servers. We'll give it an email address so that we know how to get notified of maintenance events that are happening with the infrastructure. And then we'll create our infrastructure, our Exadata infrastructure. So again, this is happening in the AWS console. It's calling AWS APIs, which are then calling OCI APIs underneath the hood. But you can see this is the Exadata infrastructure that we've provisioned via the AWS console. So now we'll go to set up our VM cluster. This is the cluster of VMs that will actually be running our databases. Specify the time zone, license options. We'll give it a name. We'll pick a version. These are our database servers. How many VMs are we going to be configuring? Which ODB network are we going to use? Naming. We also have to take care of our SSH pairs. Set some options, and now we've created the VM cluster. So we've now provisioned an Exadata box. We've provisioned a number of VMs on the box, and we can see those VMs have been created and all the information about them. We're going to grab the scan DNS name because we're going to need this to connect to our Oracle databases or our Oracle VMs. We can also see that all of the stats from the VMs are already being pushed into CloudWatch. So all of the metrics from the VMs are available in CloudWatch. So any of the tooling that you've built on top of CloudWatch metrics is going to continue to work, just as if this was an AWS service. Right, we can go ahead and connect to our instance. So first thing we're going to do is connect to a VM, an EC2 instance. And the first thing we're going to do is going to ping our VMs using the DNS. So we can see that we can ping it. So we have a network connection. This is way more exciting than you realize and how much work it was just to be able to create that ping. Now we can go ahead and SSH into the VMs. So we've now SSH'd into one of our VMs. We now have all of our Oracle database tools, which we've pre-installed. But now we can start to provision databases. So we're SSH from an EC2 VM into a VM on OCI, and we are running our database create tools in the VM. So we've created our container database, and now we're creating pluggable databases. Again, these are just the standard OCI tools that have been installed on the Oracle VM. We're creating our PDBs. Obviously, in actuality, this takes a little bit longer, but we've sped it up for the demo. And now we can actually ping the databases. So we're able to SQL Plus into those databases that have been installed using the scan DNS, and now we are in the databases with a SQL prompt. So we now have Oracle databases running on Oracle VMs in OCI, connected through the network, through to ODB, to a VM in EC2. And so now you're ready to go to start connecting your applications in that VPC to your Oracle databases, and you're up and running. Now that was many, many months of work and lots of physical as well as software development, both between us and the OCI team. So we're incredibly excited that we've made it this far. We're really excited to give this to customers to see how they're going to start to use it and all the great things they're going to build. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to bring Akshay back up here, and we're going to ask him a couple questions, put him on the spot. All right, so you've seen the demo. And you might have seen a little bit of it before, but that's the first time you've seen the end-to-end demo.
Yes.
So as a potential customer, what are you excited about?
I think I'm really, really excited. Like I said, we service almost 11.5% of the world's assets, right? Our developers are raring to get their hands on this, just so we can innovate on top of, with all the technologies you're bringing in AWS. So I'm really excited that, one, we are able to accelerate our journey to the cloud. We can move faster to the cloud. And then once we are on the cloud, then we can innovate at the faster pace.
And what's really pushing that? You know, you've talked about how important it is to get to the cloud. Like, what are the strategic drivers that are really pushing that migration to the cloud?
Yeah, there are a couple of them. First being risk reduction and resiliency. We want to leverage all the resiliency capabilities and security capabilities in the clouds, one. Two, obviously, like I said, we want to be more cloud-centric, go towards data centerless IT. It helps our data center exit program, right? And third, obviously, we want to modernize and innovate. We can't do that if we are not able to move to the cloud. At the pace and the agility we want to achieve, we can't do that in our current setup. So those are the drivers of why this is important to us.
Great, and you showed us a bunch of stats. You're obviously one of the most important banks in the world. As other banks and other financial institutions are thinking about this, like what are the things that they need to be thinking about?
Yeah, I think as far as journey to the cloud is concerned, from a financial services perspective, I think the first thing people need to think about is how, for a highly regulated bank like us, what is important is how do you establish and baseline a cloud controls framework? And how are you able to demonstrate operational effectiveness of those controls which are implemented in the environment, because people are worried to get to the cloud. That's number one. Number two, cloud does not reduce your risks. It just increases the, if it does not increase, it has a different set of risks which come in, right? So what we need to ensure is how do you manage those risks rather than getting worried about those risks, right? That's very, very important. I also say that education and competency building is extremely important. And when I say education, it's not education to the technologists, but also a lot of the other functional groups in the organization. May it be security, may it be procurement, may it be legal, may it be third-party risk management, right? And training to those guys is equally important, so we need to educate them so they become partners to get to the cloud, right? Again, a couple of other things which are paramount to me is if you intend to get to the cloud, automate the heck out of it. Hyper-automation is the concept, right? So you automate through the life cycle. You automate the provisioning process, the testing process, policy as code, continuous compliance. You have to automate the heck out of it. It's extremely, extremely important, right? Those are some of the things which are very, very important from a financial services perspective, and maybe other verticals too, I guess. But establishing the control environment, taking a risk-based approach, how do you demonstrate effectiveness of those controls is extremely paramount.
Great, and we talked about your timeline. You know, Q1, we're going to be evaluating. Like, as you go into the evaluation, like, what are you thinking about? What are the things you're going to be looking at as you evaluate? Yeah,
the very first thing we got to look at is latency for our applications. Some of these applications which are so mission critical to us were written probably 2 decades back, right? And obviously they are very chatty in nature. So first thing we need to do is run those applications and see the throughput and the performance, right? That's paramount. Once we look at that and we clear that check mark, the next 2 things obviously is I like to look for resiliency capabilities in general, and also the amount of automation capabilities in there. Last but not the least, cost, right?
Cost. What is this cost thing you speak of?
Cost is equally important because yes, we have cloud at customer, we have, you know, we have a commit with OCI. How does that cost profile transfer into AWS, or for that matter, Azure is equally important, right? But, you know, first thing is performance and latency.
Great. And so last question, as other companies are considering this journey to the cloud and are starting to go down a similar path, like what advice do you have for them?
So getting to the cloud opens up endless possibilities, obviously. And it comes with a very different risk profile, right? So in my mind, I always say, cloud is like a data center, virtual data center, where you have too many dials and knobs to tune and configure, right? And it takes time for you to get there, right? So a couple of things. First, start small, iterate, refine, right? Educate your teams, invest in competency building, like I said earlier. Automate the heck out of it, right? And there is tremendous opportunity for you to innovate on the cloud.
Great. Right. So thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. So round of applause for Akshay, please, for coming up here. I absolutely want to thank everyone at AWS that's worked incredibly hard on this. I also want to thank our partners at OCI. We've worked very closely with them for the last couple of months to be able to build this. And it's been truly a team effort. And so very excited for everything we've been able to achieve and all the things, and very excited to get this in customers' hands and see what they can do with it. So with that, I say have a great afternoon. Enjoy the best of reInvent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.